Hello, it's Blue Orange 22. As you can see from the title, coronavirus is worse for men. Men are twice as likely to die. Now, I don't usually like doing titles or videos like this is worse or this is better as if it's some kind of contest or competition, but some of these articles are kind of annoying to me. I'm talking about all of these articles that keep saying how the coronavirus is worse for women and it's affecting women more than men and it's hurting women more than men and that women are the bigger victims of the coronavirus because statistically, men are the ones who are more likely to die. And according to the latest data, men are actually much more likely to die. And the most recent figures show that the mortality rate for men is more than double that of women. So men are twice as likely to die. Let's take a look at some of the recent articles and statistics. As you can see here, COVID-19 mortality twice as high for men in Italy as women. According to Italy's Public Health Research Agency, 60% of coronavirus cases and 70% of deaths in the country so far have been men. 70% is actually more than double. It's more than a 2-to-1 ratio. And the thing is, this isn't just true in older populations. This is true for all ages. Coronavirus mortality rate is twice as high among men in Italy as it is in women, marking a concerning trend, Dr. Deborah Bricks, the White House coronavirus tax coordinator, said during a Friday briefing. And here we go. Mortality in males seems to be twice as high in every age group than females. So 70% is more than double, because if it was a 2-to-1 ratio, it would be 67% and 33%. So men are more than twice as likely to die at every age. So it's not just true for older populations. Now, when these stats were coming out of China, what the media was saying was it might have to do with the fact that men smoke more, and that affects your lungs, therefore you're more likely to die. But the problem with that is even though men do smoke more than women in both China and Italy, the smoking rates is much closer in Italy than in China, but men have an even higher mortality rate. Let's take a look at what I'm talking about. So this is from the New York Times article, which I've linked below. I've linked every article you see in this video below. I'm actually going to be quoting from this article quite a lot. You'll see highlighted, men also smoke at higher rates than women. In China, more than half of all men smoke, compared with less than 3% of women. In Italy, nearly 30% of men smoke, compared with 19% of women. Just to compare, let's look at those numbers. In China, 50% of men smoke versus 3% of women, meaning men smoke 16 times more than women do. Whereas in Italy, 30% of men smoke versus 19% of women, which means it's not even quite double. So, if smoking is the main reason why men die more than women of the coronavirus, then the difference should be much bigger in China because men are much more likely to smoke in China. But actually, it's the other way around. There are more deaths in Italy than in China, and the difference is even bigger in Italy than in China. From the article, in China, men were similarly more likely to die of coronavirus than women, although the disparity there was less stark. 64% of deaths in China have been in men, according to recent figures from China's Center for Disease Control. So remember, the difference in smoking in China is 50% versus 3%. In Italy, it's 30% versus 19%. It's much closer between men and women. But men are dying at an even higher rate in Italy. So logically, there must be another reason why men are more likely to die than women. And the difference seems to be the biological difference between male and female immune systems. Men are more likely to die than women of diseases because men, biologically, have a weaker immune system. Being male is as much a risk factor for the coronavirus as being old, said Sabra Klein, a scientist who studies sex difference in viral infections at Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. People need to be aware that this is a pattern. Just like being old means you're at higher risk, so does being male. It's a risk factor. And if you study the sex differences in viruses at Johns Hopkins, you're pretty much the most qualified person in the world on this subject. It goes on to say, women appear to have stronger immune systems than men. The female sex hormone estrogen appears to play a role in immunity, as does the X chromosome, which contains immune-related genes. Women carry 2 X chromosomes, men only carry 1, hence the strong immune system for women. Other health and behavioral factors may be contributing to men's vulnerability. Men develop cardiovascular disease, heart disease, and hypertension at younger ages than women, and both of these conditions increase the potential for severe disease. The higher mortality rate for men from coronavirus seems to be consistent around the world and seems to have been consistent from the very beginning. A World Health Organization report on cases from the European region noted that of the 11,000 coronavirus infections of known data, 57% were in men. Of 1,032 deaths for which records were available, only 295, or 28%, were in women. Now, obviously, if 28% were in women, that means 72% were in men. 72% is closer to 3 out of 4 than 2 out of 3. So what would an MRA say about this? Obviously, it's not discrimination if it's happening because of biology and nature. I mean, we can't sue evolution. But it would be kind of nice to have more awareness and research into this so maybe we can fix the problem. And no, the coronavirus is not worse for women. I'm sorry to say, but it's just not true.